Just your average everyday trucker, keeping it real. I'm your host, Chris Blodgett, and you're listening to Real Talk Tuesday.
This week's topic is going to be carrying a lot more baggage than we allow those around us to even be aware of. This is episode 131. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, appreciate you being here. It took me a little bit to try to come up with a topic this week. I'm actually back to work tomorrow night, and I was kind of, everybody went to bed, and sitting downstairs here with my computer and my microphone, just cracked up another drink, and kind of sitting here going, gotta get an episode recorded, but what the hell do I talk about? It's like, and the problem, one of the things one of the issues I have is, like, throughout the week, I might have, usually I have at least a couple of occasions where something happens, or things are going a certain way, and so I might at least temporarily be like, oh, this would make a really good topic to talk about for the next Real Talk Tuesday episode. But then by the time I actually record, I'm going, I don't remember what it was that I was thinking about. I think what I need to do is, when I have those ideas throughout the week, maybe I need to open my notepad on my phone and basically just take a couple notes. That way, kind of keep a little bit of a mental note and a little bit of a physical note to kind of, remind myself when I do finally go to record. I can be like, oh yeah, that's right, I was thinking about such and such. But and I don't know how long of an episode this one's gonna be, mainly because it's like already like 1:40 in the morning. I gotta work technically today, but don't want to be up too late, but still have to do a little bit of laundry. I got my laundry in the wash, and of course got to load the dryer, so I got to move my stuff over to the dryer. But aside from that, usually Monday night into Tuesday morning, before I start my work week, I do want to, watch a little bit more of my Netflix and all that stuff. But also I'm trying to be consistent, trying to be proactive, keep bringing these episodes for you guys and stuff. But the inspiration for this topic kind of comes from. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you ever have an instant where 1 minute you feel like you're fine, and maybe you're going to talk about something or whatever, and all of a sudden you just feel like a flood come over you, like a flood of emotions? I had an instant like that a couple days back. I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. I think it was like probably maybe Saturday, because it wasn't it wasn't Sunday night when I was officially off for 2 days. Well, off for Sunday, Monday. But I still had a shift afterwards, I think. So I think it was Saturday. I woke up, came down, was hanging out with the wife down here. She put on a couple, I don't even remember what we're watching, but she put on one of the shows that was watching with her, and we were watching, I think the series is called like Cal Fire, about like the wildfires and stuff in California. And it's about these, if you haven't, you should look it up if you're not familiar with it. It's actually a pretty good show. It's about I guess they have prisoners from like convicted felons or whatever that are in prison, and I guess they let them out to be a part of this firefighting group. And one of the characters, his dad, like chief or something, or fire captain or something. And I guess his grandfather was also a firefighter for a long time. He's a lot older now, and I guess he has some mental issues. Like dementia, ghost, like the start of like dementia and whatnot. And it's kind of like little things have started happening where like he got up in the middle of the night and kind of just started walking around the woods, and of course the grandson he saw him and got up and followed him. So of course his dad was in kind of a denial about it, like, oh, he's fine, oh, he's just tired, whatever. And of course the grandson's like, no, Dad, like something's wrong, like something's going on. And then it took the grandfather having something happen, and then he came to the grandson and the daughter-in-law, and kind of was like, yeah, I ended up out there doing such and such, and I realized I was out there. I don't even remember going out there. Something's wrong, guys. Like, I don't know what's going on, but something's wrong. So, scheduling him to go to like a neurologist to get tested and, run some tests to figure out what's going on. And I was telling my wife, about my grandparents. I said, yeah, my grandfather on my dad's side, or on my mom's side, when he passed, he still knew who I was. I mean, he died from cancer, like he had lung cancer. And I always I kind of joke every so often about like that he's watching me, because none of us are smokers, but my grandparents on my mom's side were very heavy smokers. And there've been times in the truck when, for the most part, there's no smell smoke in the truck. And every so often, I'll be going down the road somewhere, and I'll all of a sudden smell cigarette smoke. And it's just out of the blue. It's like we'll go from like everything smells normal to all of a sudden there's a very, very obvious smell of cigarette smoke. And I was like, I didn't think too much of it for a while. Like for me, it never registered. It didn't register for a while about it being my grandfather on my mom's side. But I had mentioned it to my wife because she says she's empathic or whatever. I mentioned it to her, and she goes, "Yeah, it's your grandpa, Grandpa Pell or whatever." I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, no, there's been times where I've actually seen him, like standing behind you when you're sitting in your recliner, and he has his arm on your shoulder." And I'm like, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, Just like when her father passed, and we went out there for his funeral. Good old shout out to Harry if you're watching down on this. He same thing. He had 14 years that he was deteriorating because of dementia, or whatever. But when we went out there for his funeral, my wife claimed that she saw Harry standing off in the distance, basically just with a smile on his face about all the people that were there to celebrate his life and stuff. But so now with my grandfather, anytime I'm go out there working and going down the road and randomly start smelling cigarette smoke, I'll just randomly be like, hey Grandpa Pell, hope you're doing well, love you, thank you for watching over us. And it happened the other day, and it hadn't happened for a while. It's probably been months. And I know that, according to my wife, when I tell her about it, she goes, "Yeah, he's watching over you, making sure you're safe, But I know it hadn't happened for a while. But every time it does happen, when I randomly smell cigarette smoke in an area where there is none, and I shouldn't be smelling it, I just have to, just smile and be grateful and just appreciative that, that loved ones can let themselves be known, that they're watching over you, But when watching this show, and of course this guy's grandfather, struggling with his mental, like the dementia, whatever, I looked over at my wife. I was like, "Yeah, like Grandpa Pell, he still knew me when he passed because he died from lung cancer. Like it wasn't I don't know, like a brain issue." I said, "But my grandpa on my dad's side, I was like, there was for the most part, like when I kind of started going out there, because I was driving for a company called Interstate Distributor when I first came down here after leaving Schneider back in like the end of 2014, early 2015. And when I first came down here, me and my parents were technically on the outs for a while. So we weren't talking for like 5 years, and then at some point, after we'd been down here for a couple years, for like a year or two, I reached out to because I was able to pick my own loads, and they had load boards, so you could log on there and decide what load you wanted to run. I love that. Like if I ever go back over the roads, probably what I'm going to do is go with the company that I can actually pick my own, like dispatch myself. Because that's awesome. Because like whenever I did that, I deliberately avoided going into areas like, like for instance, when I drove for Cohen, don't get me wrong, love driving for them. There's been times where I've thought to myself that if I were to go back over the road, I'd probably go back to being a contractor for them, because even though I didn't make as much money as I would have liked, they did decent, and they, from what I understand, they actually pay quite a bit more now than they did when I drove for them. Like I was making like 95 cents a mile, and I think after COVID, I was getting emails from them saying like, come back and drive for us, $1.85 a mile. I'm like, well, crap. I was like, if you guys are paying this when I was driving for you, I probably wouldn't have left. So, just had a little bit of a brain fart. I was like, all right, where was I going with that? But, so after being down here for about a year, I started seeing loads pop up on the load board about, they would actually go out to like Oklahoma, whatever. And my parents live in West Oklahoma, like roughly about hour and a half or so west of Oklahoma City. So I ended up messaging my dad and being like, "Hey, Dad, like, I've actually got a load going to Oklahoma City, and I know that there's actually some truck stops that are not far from where my parents live." And so I was like, "Hey, I could book a load out that way, and I know there's such and such truck stops near you, so I can I just got to get there early because of course they're smaller, so you got to make sure you get there early so you can find a parking space." I was like, I could come out your way, it's like spend the weekend with you guys, and if you guys like have like room, if you guys are up for visitors. And my dad was like, "Yeah, come on over, like just let me know when you're here, and I'll come pick you up." And he's like, "How long would you be staying?" And I'm like, "Well, it was like Friday when I'd be getting out there." So I was like, "Well, I'll be getting out there Friday afternoon, spend the weekend with you guys, and go back to the truck on Monday and take off again." He goes, "That would be awesome. Like, I haven't seen you in a couple years, so we miss you." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't want." Basically, what I decided to do is I wanted to start basically making an effort. Oof. Gotta love hitting that pause button, because literally it was like, as I'm talking about that, I'm like, "Oh crap, my nose is itching, I'm gonna sneeze." So, but I wanted to start making an effort. I didn't want the next time I heard anything from my parents or whatever to be because somebody died. Because sadly, when families lose contact with each other, then all of a sudden, like years later, all of a sudden it's like you just get a phone call. It's like, "Oh yeah, so and so died, your sister died, your brother died, whatever." Which means gonna be the case with my family kind of anyway, because like I'm in contact with my parents, I'm in contact with my brother, my brother Josh, and his family, and my sister Maddie. I get the occasional message from her, like special occasions. "Hey, Merry Christmas." When it was my birthday, I got a message from her, "Happy birthday." And I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, sis, love you." But the rest of my family, like my younger sister Mindy, my sister Jessie, even though I'm connected with her on social media, she posts a little bit on like Instagram and sometimes on Facebook, but I really don't hear from her directly. But I'm glad that we're at least connected in some way, because I can actually like see posts that she does. But Mindy is not on social media. Maddie, I don't think she's on social media. And so, and just not that much communication. Like, haven't heard from Mindy in probably like 20 years. Maddie, when we went out there to visit, however many years back, I can't remember. But when we went out to visit, we were playing this game on the Switch called Splatoon. And my sister Maddie was like very, very pushy about the game. She said, "Hey Chris, hey brother, like you need to go buy the game. Like go buy the game like right now." And I was like, "Well, I can't buy it right now, but I'll get it within a week. Like when I get paid again next, after we get back to Tennessee, my next paycheck hits, I'll go buy the game and I'll get it set up so we could play, play against you or team up with you from Tennessee on the Switch, play that game." "Oh, that'd be cool." So literally, I did what I said I was gonna do. We got back. Over the next week, I got paid and went on there and I got I think I bought at least 2 versions of the game. Since Switch is really weird, for those of you not familiar with it, you can't just buy one version of the game and be able to use that game and have multiple people play on separate devices. You literally have to buy separate versions of the game. So I have one on my account, my daughter could have one on her account, my wife could have one on her account, so that we all individually could go on there and play separate characters with each other. So I got at least 2 or 3 versions of it. Me and my daughter, we've played quite a bit. You know, pretty cool game. And I'm not much of a gamer, but I'm kind of transitioning a little bit lately. Kind of getting back into that a little bit. Still not gonna be, probably still not gonna be like a huge gamer, but I'm changing. So, texted my sister Maddie and basically was like, "Hey sis, got the game. I got Splatoon. Send us your friend code so we can connect with you on the Switch." Never ever got a response back. No, okay, that's interesting. And then I occasionally message her like, "Hey sis, just checking in with you. Hope you're doing well. Just touch base with you again. Just let us know what your friend code is. If you ever want to play, just let us know. We'll jump on there." No response. So I'm like, all right. So not much contact with her. Jesse and I really don't talk. Mindy and I haven't had anything to do with each other for about 20 years. My other brother, Matt, we were good for a while. Then he got pissed at me about, basically the stuff that happened between me and my parents while we weren't talking for like 5 or 6 years. I guess my brother, for whatever reason, took that personal, so he really pissed off at me and basically like he disowned me pretty much. So have not had any contact with him for a while. So literally it's just me and my parents and me and my brother Josh and his family, whatever. So I'm like, it is what it is. I can't force anybody to actually be a part of my life. So, when my grandmother on my dad's side passed, I think back in like 2011, I think 2010, 2011, I was gonna go out there and go to Florida because I actually had scheduled a taking 4 days off and was gonna literally fly down to Florida and be there for the funeral and see my grandfather and stuff. But my dad kind of talked me out of coming. He said, "Well, like there's so much going on down here, and Grandpa's so busy, and so you're not really gonna get to see him, and so it wouldn't even be worth coming down here." And I was like, "But Dad, I want to come down there and be supportive. Want to be there for him, be there for you, whatever." But he was like, "No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like, it's probably better to come at a different time." Okay, so still had the 4 days off for a 4-day weekend, so I took the fam on a 4-day little vacation to Chicago from Iowa, and stayed at like the Marriott or whatever, and I went sightseeing around Chicago and stuff. So took a train out there or whatever. So it was still a fun weekend, but I was kind of bummed because I really wanted to get out to Florida to see my grandfather. And actually, I have a really, really good friend named Melissa out in Florida. Lives in Jacksonville. Been friends with her for a while, since technically when I was with my ex, and that was part of the plan too. Was I was gonna go see my grandfather, be there for my dad, and also go see go see Melissa. I don't remember exactly what we were gonna do, but it was a plan to come out there and go visit her, go hang out with her, or whatever. But that, of course, since I didn't come down there, that didn't happen. So I kind of regret that because I kind of would have loved to get down there, not only see my grandfather, see my dad, but see Melissa, get to hang out, spend time with longtime friends and whatnot, But so after that point, I think my dad had my grandfather move to Iowa with him, and he took over as like power of attorney and was taking care of him and stuff. And I don't know if at that point, if my grandfather was dealing with dementia. At that point, I think he probably was. And so I'm trying to think back, because it's been at least, I would say, five or so years since my grandfather passed. And at that point, he was like 95 or 97. But so he ended up living with my dad up in Oklahoma for quite a while. And I started going out there to see see them, try to rekindle things with my parents. And also I knew my grandfather was there, so it's like, and I think Jesse was still in college and Maddie was still in high school, so I actually like, you know, when Jesse was away at college, if I visited, I was able to stay down in her room and you know, got to hang out with Maddie because she was still in high school, so that was pretty cool. Trying to remember, I think at that point, I don't think I think when me and my kids and my grandkid, when we went out there and did a vacation, probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years back. Yeah, I think my grandfather was already gone at that point, but way back when I was with Interstate, I was coming out there and I was seeing my dad, seeing my mom, seeing Maddie, seeing Jesse, and seeing my grandfather. And for the most part, you know, he didn't know who I was, you know, but I was just, you know, he would tell stories, you know, about when my dad was a kid and stuff, like almost like he was talking to a friend, like he didn't know who I was, but he was, you know, yeah, when me and Bobby, you know, me and my son Bobby, you know, we were out in Connecticut, blah blah blah, you know, and or he'd tell a story and I would look over at my dad, and my dad would shake his head like, no, that's not true. It didn't happen like that. But I was just grateful just to be, you know, spending time with him. I mean, you know, it sucked that he didn't know who I was, but that was still pretty good time to, you know, hang out. But when we're watching this series, me and my wife, I was like, yeah, my, you know, Grandpa Pell, he still knew who I was when he passed away, because it was lung cancer. Like, it came to a point where either the chemo treatment or the cancer itself was going to kill him. Like, he was just like, his health was that bad, and either the actual sickness itself or the treatment was going to kill him, because it was just, you know, taking that big of a toll on his body. I said, but Grandpa Blodgett, I said, he really didn't know who I was, except there was one occasion where they were dropping me back off at the truck after I visited, and I still have the photo on my phone where, as I'm standing outside the truck, my grandfather is standing there. We're just talking. You know, I don't even remember what we're talking about, but he was telling me about something, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's really cool, yeah, you know, and tell me about something else. And then of course I remember him randomly just like coming over to me and just wrapping his arms around me, giving me a hug. And it was one of those moments. It was that moment actually where I literally was like, oh wow, okay. I hugged him back, and I got that impression that he had briefly remembered me. And so, even though he's been gone for a while now, it's like I kind of hung on to that, you know, because it's like, you know, like you do, especially when they get up there to that age, or like 90, 95, whatever. And it's like you really have to, like, you know, so I'm telling you guys right now, like, if you have people in your life that are getting up there in age, maybe their health isn't the greatest, whatever, don't take anything for granted with them. Like, get out there and spend whatever time you can with them, because tomorrow is not promised for any of us, and especially with family. That's why it pains me thinking about, like, the rest of my family, like my sister Mindy, my brother Matt, hell, even Maddie, you know, because she's pretty young, yeah, I think early 20s, you know, because I think she's actually in college now. I believe she's only been out of high school for probably like 2 years, so she's probably like a sophomore or junior in high school, or in college or whatever. Jesse is long graduated and is up in Seattle, I think, with my other sister Mindy. I think they're living together as far as I know. But again, like, I don't hear from them, so it's like one of those things where I've kind of joked with my wife about, like, yeah, if something happens to either my parents, or when, so not if but when, because some, we're all bound, you know, we're all bound for the same fate eventually, like none of us live forever. So we're all like, death comes to us all. So whenever something eventually happens to my parents, or one of them at least, it would just be very awkward, I think. So I don't know if I would go out there to be with the whole family at the funeral. I would probably come up there after the fact and stay with whichever parent is still here, and then go out to the grave or whatever and see whichever parent passed away, because I don't know if I can deal with being out there with the entire family, all the siblings that have literally had nothing to do with me for a while. That's why I joke with my wife. I'm like, I'm kind of the black sheep of my family, because like both Matt and Josh are retired military, they are doing really well, and like Mindy and Jesse are both out of college, like in high paying careers. Maddie, I'm not sure what she's going to school for. Like, even though I'm happy where I'm at career wise, like I do pretty well as a trucker. We get paid pretty well. It's not like this dream job that, as far as like the family goes. Like, hell, my mom for a while basically talked about like trucking and stuff as like it's a dead end job, whatever. But no, it's not, Mom. Hell, I wanted to be a pilot back when I was with my ex, and I came very close to actually pulling it off. I was approved for a school in Tulsa, I believe, like Tulsa, Oklahoma, like Spartan College of Aeronautics in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was approved. I had financial aid for up to, I think, everything but like $5,000 for that first year. And so basically I was told, well, once you get your first year covered, then after that it's easy. Like you'll be able to, and then you go through school and you get flight hours, like they take you out in the plane, and then when you graduate they actually help you get a job in one of the airlines, like to actually become an airline pilot. So I felt like I was so close, and but I didn't have any other way to come up with the other remaining $5,000. I reached out to my parents to try to, hey Mom, like, hey, this is what's going on. Like, I'm approved for the school. I've got all the other financial part covered, but I'm just $5,000 short. Is there any way you and Dad would be willing to help? And they're like, no, we're not willing to give you the money because we think that that being an airline pilot is a dead end job, whatever. And I'm like, huh, okay. So I never went the route of becoming a pilot because I couldn't pay for the school, And yet years later, and then of course eventually I went military for a couple years, and then of course I'm a trucker for the past like 13 years. I look back now and I go, man, like I know that being an airline pilot, technically they make some big bucks, a whole lot more than what I make now, even though I do pretty well now. But so kind of get a little sidetracked there, but back to when I was talking to the wife about my grandfather and stuff, and I was like, yeah, well, like he briefly remembered me, I think, came over and gave me a hug, and it hit me really hard. Like, I literally, as I'm talking to her and saying this to her, I couldn't even get the words out. I couldn't even complete my sentence. Couldn't even complete the sentence. It was like, literally, I was like, yeah, he came over, he gave me a hug, and then kind of literally choked up, like couldn't complete the sentence. She looks over at me and I'm like, bawling, tears streaming down my face. Hell, right now, just talking about trying to, because I thought about this when I was like trying to think of like, all right, what topic should I discuss? I was like, oh, do I talk about this? Because can I keep it together while talking about it on the episode? And like if I made this like a video podcast as well, like doing a video on YouTube while also recording the audio, then of course you guys would probably see me now, like literally like kind of do the whole, all right, come on, take a deep breath. You're fine. But completely lost it. Could not keep it together. Tears streaming down my face. My wife reached over and, took my hand. It was like, "Are you okay? You're crying." And it's like, no. I was like, I don't know what's coming over me, whatever. She goes, "Well, it's your grandfather. Like, obviously you." I was like, "Yeah, But, so I mean, it's tough, because all that time, like 99% of the time that I spent with my grandfather on my dad's side, I got the impression like he had no clue who the hell I was. It was just, he'd tell me random stories and that's cool. And I'd sit and talk with him, whatever, But then had that occasion where he, outside my truck before getting back in the truck and fueling up and getting ready to take off back on the road, came over and gave me a hug, and I was like, oh wow, it was like it was like that kind of like a heartstring, like heart wrenching, because like, oh wow, okay, like I think he might have just briefly remembered me, but made me think, because just sitting here holding my wife's hand, tears streaming down my face, and not be like, man, I don't know what's wrong with me. I had to eventually get up. I walked to the kitchen, like filled my water bottle up, took a little bit of a drink, kind of broke down for a couple minutes, got it together, came back and sat down. She goes, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good now." I was like, so to kind of go with what the topic is this week, basically that told me that, I mean, yeah, I'm sad because, I miss my grandparents and stuff. Saddened by the fact of how the reality of how things are with my family, with my siblings, and I wish things were better. I wish that I was closer with them. Wish that my brother hadn't fully disowned me over something that like me and my parents have technically already worked through. Like, it has nothing to do with him, but yeah, he's pissed off at me and hasn't spoken to me in years. Like, all right, well, that's on you. If something happens to either of us, it's not my decision not to have any contact. That's yours. So, but it kind of brought me to the realization that apparently we all carry, we're all carrying around a lot inside that we might not either acknowledge or tell people about, whatever. We just, we all carry around a lot, whether it's, we're just dealing with a lot of stress at work, or, things that we're just dealing with in general. I know for me, like, I love my job, most of the time I love driving for FedEx. Most of the time I love driving for the contracting company that I'm employed with. But I deal with a lot of shit with them too. Like, for instance, like when I told you guys about how, like, there's days where I end up just not working. Like, just don't hear anything from my boss. It's not a courtesy, like, hey, it's slow tonight, you're probably not working. I'd appreciate that, because it'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, especially tell me earlier in the day, because I'd freaking go out there and go ahead and do some DoorDash, because it's like, I kind of held off, because I'm like, well, I don't want to go out and DoorDash at like 5 p.m. and, be out working till like 8 or 9, and then, thinking that, well, it's Friday, it's going to be slow, I'm probably not working, and then, get a message like 9 o'clock, hey, be in the Nash at 10. I'm like, oh, okay, so I am working. All right, cool. Because I'm always like, the way I look at it is I'm thinking, if I'm working tonight, I don't want to necessarily be out and about working, doing other work. Like, I'll be here hanging out with the wife or whatever, and just kind of, but if I'm not working, I would love to know earlier in the day, so I'll freaking like go out there at like 5, like start at like 5 or 6 and work till like 2 in the morning or something. Take like an 8-hour shift, go out there and do some DoorDash, get a lot of deliveries made, make as much as I can, and then log off the the Dasher app at like 2 in the morning and come home, you know, versus like when I find out like 9 or 10 at night that, oh, clearly I'm not coming in because I haven't heard anything. Then I go out at like 11:30 and I work till like 3:30 or 4, and I make like $50 or $60, which is bad. It's not anything to sneeze at, you know, it's better than zero, but it's still like, would have loved to know earlier. And so it's like, I just, with all the crap I deal with, hell, it's like I got off yesterday morning, you know, was literally coming home at like 10 a.m. Picking up some breakfast, you know, like McDonald's breakfast for me and the kiddo and the grandkiddo, and then stopping to, because she was like feeling nauseous, so she said, hey Dad, could you pick me up some Gatorade? Like, yeah, sure, I can grab that for you, hold on. Was gonna take my truck to the car wash because with the winter storm we had last week or whatever, it was like, you know, it's a black truck, you know, my Ram, so it had all these little white splotches on it, you know, from like the salt and all that stuff on the road. Wanted to take it through a car wash, but it still wasn't quite warm enough. It's like 39, 40, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if that's warm enough to not shatter the windows if I take it through a car wash. So I figured, well, it's supposed to warm up, so I'll wait. But literally, I'm on my way home after grabbing food and whatnot. My boss texted me, hey, by the way, like, do you want an extra run tonight? I said, oh, it's so tempting, but nah, I think I'll pass. I was like, I'm on grandson duty tonight. He goes, okay, copy that. Because, like, I'd rather have my 2 nights off in a row, you know. Yes, I need the money. Yes, I could totally use it. But at the same time, I'm like, hey, you know, all the crap I don't talk about that I'm dealing with, I'd rather, you know, I definitely need whatever time off I have, you know, I'm allowed or that I'm supposed to have. And so I passed. And then today I had to take my daughter. Said she wasn't feeling good yesterday. Well, didn't feel good on Sunday. She felt bad to the point where she had asked my wife, like, hey, can I please stay home on Monday? And, you know, I'm like, well, if you do, would have to go get a doctor's note. So I was like, I'm willing to take you in there to see a doctor and, you know, get a note for your school, whatever. And she's like, yeah, that'd be great, Dad. That'd be great, you know. And my wife was like, can you take her today? I'm like, they're only open till 4, and I was getting home at like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I'm like, I was thinking they're open till 7. I was like, if they're open till 7, I can get her over there like 6:30, get a doctor's note, have her be off on Monday. But they close at 4, and so I was like, I'll just take her in there on Monday. I'll just schedule an appointment, and, you know, at the little clinic at Kroger, and we'll just go down. So I was, you know, that's what we did today, you know. Took her down. Of course, I woke up late, so we were like 5 minutes late for the appointment, like 1:15. And when we showed up at like 1:20, like, well, unfortunately, we have to take lunch now, so, like, we have to reschedule. And I'm like, all right, well, what time do you guys got? It's like, well, how about 2:45? I was like, all right, I guess if that's the best you guys can do, we'll do it, I guess. And it's funny, me and as we're walking around Kroger for a little bit, I joked with my kiddo. I was like, I wonder if we could, if there's sites online that we could get a doctor's note so that we don't have to wait. Of course there are. It's possible. But I was like, yeah, but one, I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want you to get in trouble because they call the clinic to verify that you got seen. So, you know, why don't we just, you know, we'll just said, let's go, let's grab a couple things that we need at Kroger. Let's go run the truck through the through the car wash, you know, and kill some time. And then we came back at like 2:30, 2:35. And even though we were there early, they didn't pull us back there till like 10 minutes after our appointment, like 2:55, 3 o'clock. So my wife was asleep, and my oldest, she had to get to work, but she was basically, I was like, hey, we're still waiting for Bug's appointment. So if you could let your work know that you're going to be there, but you're just going to run late because, like, Alex, you know, the grandson, gets home from school like between 3 and 3:30. So she was like, yeah, I messaged my work, and I'm down there at the bus stop already, so just let me know when you're here and I can do an Uber. I'm like, all right, cool. So we got out of the appointment finally, and then we had to wait 20 minutes for for the medication because they gave her some anti-nausea stuff. So then we're driving up. And I'm like, we're on our way. Like, Allie, do you want a ride to work instead of getting Uber? Like, we could, come back there and just pick you up and then take you to work. She goes, yes, please, with a little prayer emojis. I was like, all right. So basically picked her up, picked the grandson up, had my youngest with us still, went and dropped her off, and me and my youngest and the grandson walked through Goodwill for a little bit, just kind of killing time, just kind of checking. We're like, well, we really don't have money to spend right now. I mean, there was money available, but just like, gotta pay. Basically, gotta put some gas in the truck tomorrow before work, and pay like a hosting subscription, the monthly hosting subscription for this podcast, actually. So it's like, I was like, well, there's money that we have available, but I need to make sure that this stuff is taken care of. So we're just walking around Goodwill for a little bit, and to kind of like, there were a little praise, I guess. One of the aisles, they had like these random bags of like random stuff that they, and one of them had like, there's a bag of like the McDonald's Thai Beanie Babies. There's probably like 7 of them in the bag, and I'm like, it was like $7 for the total bag, and I joked with my kiddo, I was like, I'm tempted to buy this just because I think that maybe we could possibly resell, like, kind of like when you flip, where you go and try to get a good deal, then try to sell. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know if we'll make all that much. If we'll spend $7, maybe make like 25 or 30 for everything. It would have been cool though if it's like spend 7 and then make it 100. But I was like, no. I've been saying like, nope, not buying anything. We're here. We're just looking. But the grand kiddo, he found a bag that had these little blocks in it. Papa, I really want this. I was like, no, we're not buying anything, baby boy. I'm sorry. We're just looking. Oh, but I really want this. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm sorry, we're just looking right now, And so we put it back, and we kept walking around looking at stuff. And probably about 15-20 minutes later, we're over on the other side of the store, kind of checking out. I was like, hey, let's go check out what the blankets, like the comforters or whatever they have, stuff like that's hung up on hangers along the wall, whatever. And so that's actually where I got my comforter. I've got I think they call it a duvet. So it's like, found it for like, I think I got it for like $25. It's a king size duvet, because my comforter I had at the time, I'd had for like 10 years. I'd had for longer than that, I think. Probably for like 12 years, and it was kind of falling apart, like starting to get holes in it, whatever. And my wife's like, oh, we should burn it. Like, no, it's sentimental. Like, I've had it. I technically got it at the tail end of when I was with my ex, and then had it for the whole marriage with my wife. And it had like former fur kiddos, former cats that were part of the family that had slept up in the bed with us and then laid on that blanket. So it's like, I didn't want to get rid of the blanket, but I knew it was falling apart. But like, eventually I want to fix it, like trying to see if I can get it patched up and make it better. But I saw that duvet at Goodwill, and I saw it like the week before when I didn't have any money to. And I was like, oh man, I gotta order a new blanket, but I really want that blanket from Goodwill because it seems like a really good deal. I've heard those are expensive blankets. And then the following week when I got paid, I went back up there really quick. Like literally my paycheck hit, and then I ran up there Thursday afternoon or whatever before work. Ran into Goodwill, and basically like I was hoping for the best. It was still there. I was like, oh cool. So I got my blanket. But the little praise factor today was, as we're walking around, we're looking at the blankets, and all of a sudden we start hearing, excuse me, hey, excuse me. And I'm thinking like who's yelling excuse me at us? Like, we're not blocking anything, we're not in anybody's way. So I turn around like, yeah. And it's like this woman and this and her daughter were approaching us, and I'm thinking like, oh crap, what's going on here? But she It's like, oh, we were in the same aisle when we heard your, we heard that he was really wanting these blocks, and we bought it for him. And she handed me the bag and the receipt, and I was like, oh wow, like you didn't have to do that. She goes, I know, but we really wanted him to have it. And and I'm like, well, thank you very much, like I really appreciate that. Of course, Alex was off, like he was a little ways away from us. Like, hey Bubba, dude, come over here. Like, what do you like hey, what, like, so I gave him the bag. I'm like this nice lady got you your blocks, what do you say? And he's like, thank you. She's like, you're very welcome. And I was like, thank you, man, we really appreciate that. Again, you didn't have to do that, but we really appreciate it, thank you. She's like, no worries. And she walked away. And me and my kiddo we looked at each other like, wow, that just happened. So it's like, well. And then of course we were able to tell Nana, my wife, whenever she got up from her nap. And then when my oldest, the grandkiddo's mom, when she came home from work at like 9:45, I was like, see those blocks on the floor? She's like, yeah. I'm like, well, apparently like this lady at Goodwill, like she heard Alex asking for him, and we were like, no, we're not buying anything. And she bought it for him. And then she's like, oh my god, that's awesome. I'm like, yeah. I was like, I was totally taken aback. I'm like, randomly buying something for a kid that for a family that you don't know. It's like, but I was like, I'm not complaining. Thank you, Lord, for that. I'm grateful for anything like that. But yeah, so if I were to try to, like, when it comes to like holding on to like having things that we're dealing with, having things that you're carrying around, I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what it is that I'm carrying around, what things that I'm still dealing with, what things are still weighing on me or whatever. I just know that we all have stuff like that, and that could be the part of my explanation why when talking about my grandfather to my wife, why I choked up and just kind of like burst into tears all of a sudden. I'm not ashamed of it, but I am one of those guys though that I literally try to like mask my emotions. Like, if something's bothering me, if I'm upset, whatever, I literally will try to like, okay, I'm gonna go off by myself for a little bit, gonna try to just do my best to deal with it. Hell, whether it could be, it's not just things with like work, but things with my relationship with my wife, things that have happened in the past that I don't know if I'll ever be okay with, and things that have happened between me and the kiddos, like the oldest or whatever. Like, there's just been, how it is, like, the older you get, there's just things that have happened that things that'll happen in life that you'll do your best to move on and move forward with it, but it might be difficult to fully get past it, so you do your best. So like, I take advantage of whatever days off I have, and I enjoy my enjoy my adult beverages when I'm off. I enjoy Netflix, and I try to make the most out of the time with the family, especially the grandkiddo. So we're looking into making some changes. We don't know if we are wanting to stay here, here in the state, or if we're gonna, whenever we do get a house, if we're gonna go out of the state. We're kind of leaning towards making a big change, like a full relocation, whatever. Eventually, no idea when, but it's one of those things, like we want to get a fresh start somewhere, and I don't know. So it's like talking to my youngest, as we're coming back from her appointment or whatever, and she's had some drama going on with some people that she was friends with, or she's still technically friends with, but they're how they have the falling out or whatever at school. And she's like, I would love to be just going to school from home, like on the computer or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but before you didn't like that, like you wanted to get back to school. She was, yeah, that's when I had friends at school. And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, the funny thing, Bug, is like, I'm actually looking, I was like, my goal is to eventually still be making, plenty of money to support us, but be home full time, like I don't want to have to go anywhere unless I have to, you know. So it seems like maybe that might be a route that she wants to go to. That, you know, because I will go out and do stuff like leave the house or leave the apartment and, you know, drive somewhere to either pick food up or go somewhere. But it's like at the same time, I very much enjoy just being able to hang out here and be like, yeah, I don't want to leave unless I have to. So, but you know, guys, on that note, just don't worry or stress yourself out if you're kind of in the same boat as I am, as far as like you have things that have just happened in your life, things that are currently happening in your life that are weighing you down, that are, you know, that if you talk about them, you just get emotional, you break down. It's fine, you know, don't worry about it, you know. Like it's totally cool, totally normal. Sometimes, like, especially just breaking down and crying about, like, just letting yourself just break down. Nothing wrong with it. There's no shame in it. You know, and sometimes we have to. You know, like sometimes it's just therapeutic and benefit and like helpful and beneficial to us to just, you know, just let it out. You know, it's part of why I enjoy. I'm grateful to be doing what I do for work, because I'm alone in the truck. So there'll be times where I'll start singing a certain song and I'll find myself randomly choking up and, you know, tearing up or whatever. And it's like, all right, well, I'm by myself, so I don't have to worry about somebody watching me and judging me or whatever. Oh my God, he's crying. Okay, whatever. But, you know, F off. You know. So, but on that note, I think I'll go ahead and call that it for this week. But I hope you guys found some value in this episode. I always try to, you know what I always say, like I always try to, for real talk, I always try to come up with whatever I feel inspired to talk about that day or that week. So I hope this touched you guys a little bit, you know, made you think, made you like reminisce about, you know, loved ones lost or things that have happened that you maybe have been holding on to, and like just give yourself permission to allow yourself to break down if you need to. But anyway, guys, as always, I appreciate you tuning in. Anybody that would like to support the show, please go to blodgetshow.com/support. You can support for as little as $1 per month or a one-time contribution just to help out. Anything and everything helps out. I definitely appreciate it. Thank you so much in advance. At some point, because I've been thinking about it for a minute, because like I've been telling you guys, I have turned in those short stories for the Storytime Friday segment, which will be coming back eventually, you know. But turning those short stories into volumes, and I have volume 1 completed for the most part. Volume 2 is started. And as I complete those, you know, at some point I will be publishing those. They will become, you know, available for sale. And I'll start, like, you know, giving you guys a link on these episodes, let you know where you can buy the books, as well as like I have a novel that's like 75% completed that I just need to hunker down and actually start working on that again and actually get that completed. So there's multiple written projects that are in the works. But at some point, what I might do is I might actually create like I don't know if I would do a GoFundMe, but it'd be something similar. It'd be like something that would be a lot easier to access in a way that, you know, I wouldn't necessarily have to like withdraw the funds and pay a fee to withdraw. I don't know what it exactly I'm gonna do, but I'm kind of leaning towards creating some kind of account as far as like a funding source to help me start getting those books published, get those available for you guys. And when I figure that out, I'll of course let you know, like, hey, go here to this site if you wanna like help, you know, with the startup cost with getting these books published, you know. And when I do that, I'll let you guys know what that is. But I'm just letting you guys know right now that it's kind of something I'm thinking about. I'm trying to brainstorm and think about how I want to do it. You know, because that's my end goal, is start having, you're getting books published. Eventually, you get like some merch from the Blodgett Show out there, like hoodies and whatnot. You know, it's all stuff that eventually, of course, to monetize this podcast and stuff. But I have no clue what to do with that because I've never done it. So I listen to all these podcasts where they have these different advertisements or whatever, and like and then they're gotten to the point where that's all they do is they're literally just a full-time podcast host. I'm like, that would be amazing, but I don't know what to do. So if you're familiar with that, if you have a show that you've monetized and you know the steps to go down to act, or the steps to take to actually pull that off, feel free to let me know. Feel free to reach out, blodgettshowpodcast@gmail.com. But on that note, guys, you know what I always say: keep pushing forward, keep believing, believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there. And then you just have to go out there and do it. But on that note, I really appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for hanging out with me this week, and I hope you have a great rest of your week. And I will talk to you guys on the next episode. You guys have a good one.